Go try to pick up my son. They tell me I'm no longer on the pickup list. I gotta check with his mom to pick him up. My son. I gotta check with his mama to pick him up from school. School, and they telling me that I couldn't even pick him up because I'm not on the pickup list no more.
Because I told you I'll take you off. Why are you even
No,
calling my phone?
you can't take me off no pickup list. I'm his dad, bro. You ain't no, bro. Stop playing, bro. And they taking
I
me
can do what I want
only.
to do. You don't tell me what to do.
No,
You
bro.
be picking them up and stuff anyway.
You can't take me off no. I can pick my son when I want to pick my son
I
up,
can do what
bro.
I want to do.
You cannot take me off no pickup list. How you sound?
Anyway.
I was finna pick him up and go take him and get some. I was finna take him and get something to eat.
You didn't communicate with me that though, did you?
I don't have to communicate with you.
Yes, you do.
What are you talking about? That's my son.
Every day.
No, bro. But for you to go and try to take me off the list, that's crazy, bro. Like, what's wrong with you?
I do not care. You gotta earn that, buddy.
Earn, bro. Stop.
First, what I would like to say is I am so sorry that individuals on both sides of this conversation even have to go through this because this is crazy. It's immature. It does not solve anything and it's not to the benefit of the child. This is just downright petty. Now, I will say trigger warning because women are going to come onto the comments and have every reason under the sun why this should be okay. But regardless, this is not okay. If you do not have a court order that has deemed the father unfit and a danger to the child, it is not okay. Even if you have full custody, even if you have bad history with the father, if the court has not found he is an unfit parent and to a danger to your child, it is not okay. And you are actually contributing to the harm and trauma of your own child by doing this. If you listen to the conversation, of course, the father is upset because his name was removed from the list of approved people to pick up his son from school as his biological father. So he's upset about it, which any parent would be, whether they had custody or not. Any biological parent, any caregiver to that child that had an understanding that their name was on that list and then being removed would upset them. So he's well within his emotions, well within his rights to feel the way that he feels. But for him to call the mother of his son and to say, "What's going on?" And she says, "I can do what I want to do." If you notice, she didn't give him a reason. Well, she did give him a reason. You don't even pick him up anyway. That is irrelevant. The purpose of the list is so the school is aware that there are certain people that have approval by the custodial parent to pick up the child. That's what that means. It doesn't mean that they only get approved if they pick up the child X amount of times per month. You don't get to regulate that as the child's mother. See, oftentimes when it comes to co-parenting, moms feel like their job goes beyond responsibility to the child in that they can regulate how the father shows up for the child. No, beloved, you had that control when it was time to choose the father. After you've made the decision, he is going to be who he's going to be. And you do not get to regulate how he shows up as a father, whether you like how he shows up or you don't like that he shows up. If he is not showing up in a way that is damaging to the child, and when I say damaging, like can cause some type of physical harm to the child, you cannot do that, beloved. Well, I can hear the response now. Well, what about emotional harm? Emotional harm is not just about saying you'll be there and not showing up. That's not just what this is about because that's a responsibility of both parents. If the father says he's going to pick up the child and mom relays that message to the child only for him to not show up, both parents have participated in that letdown. You see what I'm saying? If the father is not responsible enough to show up when he says he's going to show up, and mom should be aware of that because she, in fact, has at least dated him, I would hope. So she knows his patterns. So if he has a tendency to get distracted, or he has a job that just happens to pop up at any given moment, and he can't be as consistent as what you would like him to be, you don't relay the message to your child. He tells mom, I'm going to pick him up after school today. Okay, bet. What that means is your son will get a surprise today. If he, for any reason, does not show up, your son is just having a regular day at school and mommy will be there to pick him up. You are not obligated to relay the message to your child. You can even have that communication between parents. Look, I know you want to pick him up, but do me a favor, don't mention it to him. That way, in case you don't show up, he is none the wiser. It's not a promise that you broke. It's not a letdown that I have to assist him in getting through. Just show up. Make sure I know, so I'm not going to the school picking up my child and he's not there. But you don't have to relay that message to him. Let me know so I know he will be getting picked up and I don't have to worry about it, and go pick him up. Also call me if for any reason things change and you cannot show up, so I know I need to resume my duties. But don't mention it to him, and neither will I. If you are able to get everything together and show up on time, he will be surprised that his daddy came to show up and do something special for him. You can avoid emotional trauma when it comes to an inconsistent parent, whether that be a person who doesn't keep his word versus a person who just has a very demanding job and they're on call and anything could happen at any moment. You still have to be the same type of mother. You're not obligated to share that letdown with your child. The mother can handle it. Give me the emotional burden as his mom. You see what I'm saying? So that's just an excuse. He doesn't show up anyway. You don't have to include your child in that experience. You can actually keep him on the outside of that per an agreement with the father of your child. So again, if there is no proof that he is a danger to the child, you just randomly taking him off the list at the school because he doesn't pay child support, because he doesn't show up in a decent amount of time and in intervals the way you would like him to, none of those things are okay. And at that point, it's you creating a negative experience for the child because their perception is dad just doesn't want to be there, when in reality, you're blocking his way. And for no legitimate reason. You may have reasons. You may want him to be a better parent, but it is not your job to parent the father of your child. You are not his mother any more than he is your father and he can tell you how to be a parent. That's just not how it works. At that point, you're being very malicious towards the father of your child, whether it be because the relationship broke down, he has a new girlfriend you don't want around your son, however you want to look at it. None of that is within your control to exhibit this type of behavior. And again, she did give him reason. You don't show up to pick him up anyway. That has nothing to do with his name being on the list. Is he a danger to your child? No. So should he be removed from a list and removed from having access to his child? No. Women, you have to get control over your emotions and understand that there's a clear boundary between your issues with the father of your child and your child's issues with the father of your child. And you do not have the right to blend those two together. And if you have not taken it to the court to get an order for, you can't just create boundaries because you feel like it. Look out for your child so they can have a good experience within the entire family, whether it's together or apart. Also, I almost failed to mention, on the father's side, regardless of how the mother of your child is acting and whether or not she has you on the list. Let's say you are on the list. That does not mean that you could just pop up at the school and pick up your child and not say anything to the mother of your children. She has a regular routine. She has a schedule. She has her own life to live. And you could also cause her some type of distress if she shows up to pick up her child and her child is not there. Granted, because you are on the list, the school should be able to notify her and say, well, their child, their dad picked them up. So it should put her mind at ease. But she shouldn't have to find out from the school. I will admit she will find out, but she shouldn't have to find out that way. She shouldn't have to get in her car and go all the way to the school with the intention of picking up her child only to find out she can't do that because you've done something. This can create a lot of bitterness and resentment and cause her to create some type of rift in your process. Now, something like that happening may encourage a woman to feel like she needs to take you off the list because you're picking up your child and not communicating. Now, while that may make you upset, mom, it may be irritating. It may throw a wrench in your routine. He can still pick up that child because you are being notified by the school. That is the reason for the list, because they can only allow the child to leave with someone on the list. So even though you had to get in your car, go all the way to the school thinking you're about to pick up your child only to find out that it was an unnecessary drive, yes, it will get on your nerves. Yes, it will have you frustrated. Yes, it will. You will think of a bunch of other stuff you could have been doing instead of driving to the school. But once you get to the school, you will find out exactly where your child is. That is the purpose for the list. And while it may be an inconvenience, if the father does not want to participate in calling you, the school is obligated to not release your child to anybody that's not on that list. So they will be verifying the person that picks up your child. So you will get the information. It just will be late. That doesn't mean that you get to try and micromanage this man and say, because you didn't call me, because I didn't know, because you didn't communicate, I'm taking your name off the list because you haven't earned that. And that comment, you haven't earned that. This man does not need to earn being in the position of this boy's father. The minute that child drew breath, his father is who he is. His mother is who she is. And while a parent may need to earn a certain amount of treatment from their child, they do not have to earn being a parent from the other parent. That's where the confusion is. There have been breakdowns in relationships between children and their parents where the child won't give the parent a certain level of access to them because of some type of wrong that the parent has inflicted on the child. But that is the child's decision. So yes, in that context, a parent may have to earn their privileges back with their own child. But that has nothing to do with the mom. He does not have to earn child privileges through the mother. Again, you are not his parent. If your child is willing to see his father, that's all that needs. That's the only consulting that needs to take place. That child doesn't care about your financial problems, doesn't care about your emotional problems. If that child is excited and wants to spend time with their dad, who are you to stand in the way? You do not get to say you haven't earned the right. That child does not know anything about obligation to being taken care of, how much money he spends on his school clothes. The child does not care. All they know is that's my daddy. That's the person that I love. That's somebody I want to spend time with. You don't get to make your child have an issue with their father that they don't have and say he has to earn access to his child. The only area where somebody has to earn something other than with their own child is through the courts. If the courts strip him of his custody, He will have to earn getting split custody through the courts. And even that has nothing to do with mom. You don't have that type of control. You can go to the court and request split custody, full custody. That is awarded to you via the courts. That is not within your control. You have to ask for that. Okay? You cannot, you know what I mean? You don't have that type of control. So trying to assert that type of control makes you out of line. Yes, he should communicate with you because it can be a stressful situation to go to the school and your child is not there, and you know what I mean, that can cause you some type of frustration. But that is what the list is for. Yes, they should communicate, and the school should also be responsible and held responsible for who they release your child to, and they should adhere to the list that you provided. Yes, he should communicate with you. But if you have legitimate issues with this man that are negatively impacting your child, you should have no problem with going directly to the court to discuss your issue. But if you have not even filed and started the process to present your issue, you don't have the right to do these type of things. I had this conversation with my husband before I did this review, and he brought it to my attention because my reaction I was fuming a little bit, and I just was like, that should be illegal. If you don't have a court order set in place that says the father is a danger to the child, the mother shouldn't be able to just leave the father off the list of picking him up from school just because she can. And what he was telling me was it's now illegal. And I don't know if that applies to all of the states, but I certainly hope so, because there's too much exercising control where you shouldn't have any control. This should be mandated by the courts if it's necessary. You shouldn't just be able to do it because you want to and that's how you feel because you woke up today in a bad mood. That's not okay. And that's a negative experience that's visited on the child for no reason. We have to understand that regardless of whether or not you like this man anymore, this is still the person that you chose, and you do not get to dictate how he shows up as a father in your child's world. If you wanted that type of control, you should have vetted properly. You should have made sure and verified that the person you chose was proven to be the person that you actually wanted. Because when we don't make clear and concise decisions like that, we end up with something that we didn't know what we were getting into. And being mad and resentful after the fact because it's not going the way you envisioned is not your child's fault, but you will make it their problem thinking you can go back and clean up the mess afterwards. You cannot. This is his father. You may not like him. You may not like how irresponsible he is. You may not like the broken promises. You may not like any of that. But unfortunately, this is the person that you made a father. Your responsibility in that situation is being mature enough to guide your child throughout the hiccups of this developmental process so they can understand sometimes letdowns happen. It doesn't mean you get to alienate the father from his child. It means you have to evolve in a way that allows you to still be, proficient at using these experiences as a teaching tool so your child can withstand these experiences. Teach them that they can make a definitive decision if they don't want to do something anymore. It doesn't mean you get to make the decisions for them, even though you want to in the name of protection. You have to be their parent because life experience teaches us all, including your child. And sometimes a child's first lesson is their parent. Peace.